Greetings, beloved Sanctuary of Hope community. Welcome to Sanctuary of Hope's Homeless Youth and National Runaway Prevention Month. We want to thank you for joining us again and every year as we kick off the month of awareness and call to action. This year we're focusing on a very important thing, which is prevention, because we believe that prevention is the pathway to functional zero when we're talking about youth homelessness, youth housing insecurity, or youth who are facing or experiencing a housing crisis. The most recent Greater Los Angeles point-in-time count for youth revealed that there was a 63% reduction of youth experiencing homelessness on the streets. And while some may feel that those numbers or may feel that they're not confident in those numbers, we know that during the pandemic and after the pandemic, that we saw a sharp decline in the number of young people experiencing or facing a housing crisis, mainly because of the amount of resources that poured in and flooded our communities to prevent young people from entering into a homeless crisis by, one, helping them to become rapidly reemployed again, to provide mental well-being support, to provide education and employment assistance, and even in some cases, helping young people reunite with families across the United States. Prevention is, again, the pathway to eliminating youth homelessness. It is our practice, our belief, and our conviction that youth homelessness should be rare, non-reoccurring, and brief. And we are inviting all of our community stakeholders to be in community with us to ensure that our young people receive all the necessary resources and supports to prevent them from entering into a homeless crisis. And what prevention looks like for us is all kind of prevention, whether it's suicide prevention, it's violence prevention, it's child welfare or juvenile justice prevention, all of those. And we know that if we can work in coordination and we can strengthen our community networks and our community resources, that we could actually obtain and reach functional zero. So again, thank you for joining us. We hope that you enjoy our youth voices as well as reflections from our community members who have come to be with us this evening. Have a great Youth Awareness Month.
I'm Pastor Calvin Sauls, faith-rooted community organizer here in Los Angeles, and also have the privilege of serving as a commissioner on the Los Angeles Housing Services Authority. It's a joy for me to be here as we come together once again to see how it is that we can commemorate Runaway Homeless Youth Prevention Month. This is a very, very important commemoration that takes place every year. However, I want to be clear that this commemoration is really to work very, very hard to prevent the normalization of youth homelessness. So through this, we provide both education and mobilization with young people, as well as community-based organizations, faith communities, and governmental institutions to see how we can come together, lock arms, and make sure that young people, in the first place, know that we care. In the second place, they can prepare. And in the third place, we can then together share how we can prevent, the housing insecurity for our young people. Of course, our path is towards functional zero. What does that mean? Functional zero for me means that we all come together as a collective to see how we can engage in a destination called elimination, right, of homelessness. It also means that we engage, in that path towards this destination of elimination with a disposition of prevention. It is so critical that we invest more in prevention. I remember when I experienced, housing insecurity. That first 3 pieces I mentioned, just a few seconds ago, became very important for me. The first one is that I know that the community care about me, that I will not be judged based on my condition or situation of housing insecurity. So that caring is so important. And here at Sanctuary of Hope, we make sure that we let young people know, that we let transition age youth know, we care about you. You matter to us. And that's why we care about you. And we care about you based on your humanity, not your current situation, right? And that's very important. You are a person to us, regardless of the problem that you are facing. So for me to know that the community cared was very important. Secondly, it was just the prepare aspect to it, how I had to prepare myself. First of all, to acknowledge that I have this challenge of housing insecurity. Secondly, to try and see how I can act on that acknowledgement, you see, and to act on that acknowledgement, how is it that I can become part of the solution to the challenge that I'm facing? Denial is dangerous. And so I had to acknowledge, which then prompted me, pushed me, if you will, into preparations. What are you gonna do about this? You have folk that care about you, but you gotta make that move and let them know about your situation. Let them know about your challenge, right? So I knew that they cared. I knew I had to be prepared. And then, of course, very important, I had to then share, with others, what the solution can be. And so I didn't just have a problem. I didn't become the problem. I became the solution.
Okay. Greetings. My name is Christian Green. I am the Policy and Advocacy Director for Sanctuary of Hope. I am a former foster youth, and today we're here to just talk about Foster Youth Homelessness Awareness Month. And in this, Sanctuary of Hope, if you do not know, is a provider, a safe space, a sanctuary for homeless youth, for those that have run away from homes, for those parents that have given up on them. We predominantly focus on TAY youth, and we welcome everyone. And so this month is so special to me because I do remember when I was homeless. I was just talking today on the radio station about how I was homeless at, 18, and I really didn't know where I was going. I had just got kicked out of my foster parents' house. I ended up living at my best friend's house, so I was sleeping on the floor. Shout out to Miss Ginger. And sleeping on different floors, sleeping on the couches. And that was about a good 3 to 6 months, I believe. And then I got placed into Penny Lane Center and ended up getting into some issues with them. So I ended up getting back onto the streets, had to quit the program or got kicked out the program. There was no second chances in Penny Lane. And so that was years ago though, when I was 18. I'm 36 now, so okay, that was 18 years ago. And so life has been a journey, and I really want to give a huge shout out to all those providers, all the care providers, all the grandparents. When we think about kinship care, we think about grandparents, we think about aunties, cousins, sisters, brothers. those that are taking care of folks that their parents really have given up on, them, our youth. And so this month is so necessary, specifically for us to know that homelessness is on the rise. It seems as if it's not going anywhere in LA County for some reason. I believe I was on a call and they were talking about how Black children specifically are 9% of LA County's population. However, we are over 30% of the homelessness population. I work alongside with DCFS, and there's a huge disproportionality of our foster youth being Black. And so we have to figure out the root causes. We have to figure out how do we heal the situation. And I believe with this month, with this Sanctuary of Hope, we are going to highlight a lot of different stories, sharing mine as well as others, so that people become more familiar of the situation, but also try to offer solutions and offer innovative ideas, techniques, and also healing methods. And so, so next month, join us as we continue to go on this journey in Sanctuary of Hope, and we appreciate you.
My name is Zion Capers. The time I experienced homelessness for the very first time, I was young, around 17, 18, although the experience still holds a tremendous toll on me to this day. It was due to rather just disagreements in the household, will to leave because of my age, that's the time you want to venture, get out. It was an assortment of things that just led me to leaving also on my own behalf rather than, be forced out by my parents, because it was about that time you had to make better choices. I don't believe I was fully making those better choices, so I left. What I learned from the experience of being homeless was that times change, they weren't what they were. You gotta move with the time, and you just can't look back and regret what you do. You just gotta look forward and keep a positive mind. Transitioning between all of the different phases that you have to go through when, keeping afloat, being homeless, it's not easy. You gotta make the right choices in a split second. That's whether you're gonna have a roof under your head, somewhere to shower, somewhere to lay. It's been very wonderful in the end. I've got a feel for better experiences, opportunities. I've met new people. They've reached out, they've lended their hand, they've helped me along the way. I made the right choices to be in a place where I could transition itself. It was just dedication and a plan. As long as you set a plan in motion and you just move on that, you would always transition. How can a community help young people avoid a housing crisis? This type of plan, I'd say, is communication barriers between informing youth that there's places to go rather than nowhere. There's opportunities you can take, sign up for, you could go, you could just venture. I'd say the second one, outside of communication barriers, will be, it'd have to be setting a specific short-term goal that you want to knock out the way and have a long-term one that you get to, which is a step in just getting the mindset to get out of being homelessness, to make efforts for yourself. Hi, I'm Zion, and prevention is a pathway to functional zero.
My name is Cornisha Hunter. I'm 24 years old, born and raised in Los Angeles, a current participant in the Rapid Rehousing Program with Sanctuary of Hope. It was after college, that's when my journey began. I began undergrad in 2016, and I finished in 2020, 4 years, and it was at that fourth year where things went left, and it was 2020, right? So this is amid the pandemic. So at this time, the entire world is upside down. So it made sense for my situation to be uncertain as it was, right? And at this time, I was grateful enough to have people in my corner, or someone in my corner that was generous enough to offer me a living situation at that time, right? She was not a blood relative, but she was kin enough for me to feel comfortable and trusting of the situation. So around that time, June 2020, finishing undergrad, around this time, folks are moving into permanent residences, you know, they're transitioning into jobs and careers and, you know, pursuing their post-grad or journeys, right? And for me, I'm kind of like, I don't have a plan. I don't know where I'm gonna stay. I don't know what's gonna happen. All I know is I'm done with college. I got the degree finally, and around this time, that's why I mentioned that person I was grateful enough to have. She offered me to stay with her. So it was not up until after this point where my housing crisis really began. I'll say the housing insecurity started around this 2020 season. And then after having living with her for about a year and some change, you know, ups and downs, back and forths, you know, throughout 2020, 2021, that's when the housing crisis began, because at this point I was exited from her home. And around this time, I'm a big believer in things happening for a reason and people being sent into our lives at certain seasons. Gotta go, you know, at this point, you know, things hit the fan unexpectedly. I didn't have a plan, so I gotta go. I just know I gotta leave the situation. Met somebody again. Actually, I went up to the county building, met a woman. This was like in the county building in Watts. So I met a woman named Miss Sheila Jones, and she was at the WLCAC Center. I was like a couple doors down from the county building. I go up to the county building with no intentions to discover a program or a housing opportunity or anything. I go up to the county building just to see about my assistance, because I need assistance at this time, right? And me just being inquisitive or, you know, in need, right? Or devastated or desperate, you know, I'm just like, who can I talk to? Who knows something at this point? Met this lady, and sure enough, told her my story, and she referred me over to the Sanctuary of Hope program. It was something I had never experienced, right? I definitely went to a lower level that was new to me. It was foreign, right? I was always kind of like sheltered under my mother, you know, growing up. And then college came, and I became a lot more independent throughout high school and college, and I went into student housing, and things kind of just made sense along the way, right? So when I hit this point in my life, it was kind of like just everything unseen, you know. I didn't even know how to really feel about it at the time. I felt like I was numb to it, you know, and it was within these times I was able to meet many different people. I was able to learn a lot about myself. I was able to channel my survival mode, you know, with a lot of these things. It forced me to preserve myself, preserve my necessities, to appreciate what I have. Definitely, my testimony will be enough to help those who relate to me, right? I feel like, I don't know if I'm even answering this question correctly, but what could I do? Advocacy, right? Self-advocacy, or let's say interpersonal advocacy, or let's say intersocial advocacy, right? People in my social groups, you know, just putting the word out, sharing my story, like I was saying, being open, being transparent, all these things, just awareness, you know, just all these things. Just the idea of perpetuating these things, you know, of telling, of showing, of spreading, right, sharing. I feel like that's always like housing crisis can be prevented for different youth, you know, taking youth like myself, putting people like me in position or on a platform to share my voice, right, to be able to reach further audiences.
So long story short, I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm mainly a music producer, and when I was in high school, my main focus was music, to either go to college and get a degree in audio production, which I do have that degree. I graduated January 15, 2021 from LA Film and Recording on Sunset Boulevard. That makes me a certified mastering engineer. But it was pretty much my calling to come it was pretty much my calling to leave my hometown to pursue my music career in some shape, form, and fashion. It was either going to Florida, going to Full Sail on a scholarship, or going to California to the Art Institute of Hollywood, which I went for 2 years, and transitioned to LA Film and Recording, which I graduated from. And I wound up taking California and been out here for 5 years. Came out here at 17, going into 18, and now I'm 24. Honestly, to be honest, what will prevent me to be in that position is pretty much focusing more on myself instead of me trying to assist and overly assist people that's not reciprocating the same energy, because it's just draining a lot of my energy and not really me focusing on myself and my needs and priorities. Personally, it was more as in like a spiritual type thing. I felt spiritually drained. I put a lot of effort and trust into these people who I was living with, and it was just, manipulation, some narcissistic behaviors, and I haven't experienced that before. So I did like a lot of deep meditation and learn more about myself and know what's best for me and why I'm feeling that way. And by me doing that, isolated myself for about a good month. It was just all the signs and red flags was just presented in front of me to the point it was either me to either stay in that same situation and just compromise my mental health, or to leave. The community could teach the youth financial literacy, money management, and independence on living on their own when you step out your comfort zone. And especially for people in my hometown in New Orleans, Louisiana, I stress that to them a lot. But some of them understand, and some of them are still going through their journey, understanding what they want to do. But everyone's purpose and journey is different, and
My first time experiencing housing insecurity, I was 13 because I used to be a runaway. Really from ages of 13 and 17, because I was either running away or in a residential placement, so I didn't really have stable housing. I for sure learned how to trust the process, because it did take me a long time to get here. I learned, it's from being a runaway, it's like you don't have responsibilities, you know what I'm saying? Especially when you're a minor, you don't have responsibilities. It's a different world, once you turn 18 and over, because it's stuff that you can get away with as a minor, you can't get away with it as an adult. So I learned you very much gotta be responsible. What would have prevented me from experiencing a housing crisis? It's that's the thing, it's it's an honest answer. It's I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. I ran away because of my parents, you see what I'm saying? So it's I was running away from home. So it's not I just ran away just to be a runaway, to be fascinating. I was running from something. For sure, listen to your kids. Not all parents are perfect, but it's if your child is telling you that what bothers me is a parent can see the opposite parent mistreating their child and won't do shit about it. That's why I ran away from home. It was really a mix between both my parents, but it's if I'm telling my mom, my dad make me feel some type of way, he treat me like this, don't keep him around. You feel me? Because that's why y'all kids run from y'all. Yeah, it's really just shit. And it became a repeated cycle for me to where I'd have been in and out of mental hospitals, in and out of residential placements up until I was 17. So then luckily I found Sanctuary Hope. I got housing through y'all, but it's parents, it started at home. Parents need to do better when it comes to their kids. And a lot of this stuff wouldn't even be happening. It's no reason why you should be homeless. We born into y'all care. We're born under y'all supervision for 18 years. Parents need to be parents. The community can help a young person avoid a homeless crisis. Just more outreach programs like these. Cause it's if you don't have family, y'all are the next best thing. A lot of us rely on y'all, you see what I'm saying? So it's more outreach programs for sure.
We started experiencing our housing crisis in 2017. I was a senior in high school, and I was barely a freshman starting off high school. Yeah, so it was then, and it started because our family had financial issues and insecurity. It was basically like paycheck to paycheck, and we missed one paycheck and things just started going downhill from there. We got an eviction notice and couldn't pay the rent on time, basically. So we started living from couch to couch with different people, and eventually in our car. So yeah.
What did you learn from that experience?
What did we learn from that experience? What I learned from that experience was that, well, to be honest, when this happened, I felt like I wasn't there spiritually in a way. Like, cause I was only 14 at the time. So I wasn't aware of like my family's financial issues until later on, and it hit me. So I was like, oh my gosh, we're really going through like financial problems, and it kind of made me realize that I need to like save money, but I didn't have a job back then. So cause I was barely a teenager, but it made me realize that I have to save money eventually so I can move out. So I learned a lot of things from going through this whole housing crisis, housing insecurity. I would say it definitely started a spiritual awakening for both my sister and I. It caused me to not really identify with everything that I owned or so much with my situation, you know, like I'm so much more than what I'm going through, than what I own, and this doesn't define me. It also caused me to understand that this life isn't like as easy as I had expected it to be. Like when I was a young kid, I would always tell my mom, oh, I'm moving out when I'm 18, and I did technically move out when I'm 18, but like not in the way that I had expected to, you know, like we had to go through everything, and it's a lot harder than I expected, you know. So just made me want to make more wise financial decisions and start working. And what would have prevented me from experiencing a housing crisis? Honestly, I would say that at the time it was out of my control. I mean, yeah, I could have had a job since I was like 15, 16 years old and provided for myself, but at the time I wasn't really aware that we were even struggling that much financially. It just kind of like hit us out of nowhere. Yeah. Or it was homecoming my senior year. I thought things were like going good for me. I just won a homecoming queen, and then like after that reality hit, we started packing everything into like big old boxes, not even like having time to organize everything, getting rid of a lot of things for sure. And the last night at our house, we had basically nothing there. We were just like sleeping on a blanket, and then I have pictures on my phone. Like I was very stressed out, and I was just thinking in my head like, wow, so I really don't know where we're gonna sleep. And yeah. I would say like my experience was kind of similar, like from what I remember. Like I would say like this is the day of like when we had to move out. We were talking with my grandma. She told us we could stay there for now, but I was kind of hesitant. Like I love my grandparents and I get along with them good, but it's so new to us, you know, living with them, because they live with my uncle and my baby cousin, and it was just something, it was just like an experience, you know, like it was just hard in a way. And then I would have to worry about how I would get to school, but we made it work. It was just a lot. Yeah, so I think we got home like the whole situation when we lost the house was the day before Thanksgiving. So we spent Thanksgiving kind of like up in the air. We did end up going to my grandma's house, and she did make us feel a little welcome for a while, but things didn't last, so yeah. Last year we actually had a couple friends over. They brought like some vegan food for us, and they also brought regular food for them, so it was like a lot more happier, and
I would say it's probably my favorite Thanksgiving memory so far.
yeah.
The food was amazing.
Yeah, it felt good. How can the community help young people to avoid housing places? I would say that I wish more people would be aware of how many people do go through these things, because even like people who you wouldn't expect to be going through this, like they could be going through it undercover. Like a lot of people till this day don't know that I've gone through that whole thing, and when I tell them, they're just like, wait, what? Like, so I think that being aware of this whole thing would be beneficial, because then if you're aware, you can start to learn what you can do to help people, donate to certain programs, and just yeah. Even like if you know somebody going through something, you can offer them a place to stay for one night. Like that can do so much for somebody. Offering them like a place to shower, a meal, it can do so much, you know, like a lot of things, to be honest. Like you can see somebody homeless on the streets of LA and you'll know like, oh, they're homeless because they're in a tent and they just don't look like well groomed. But also homelessness can look like this, you know, like I'm just dressed like any other person would be dressed, and just trying to like keep it together, but you don't know, like
You really don't know what's going on behind closed doors and everything.
yeah, so there's really no way to like tell by looking at somebody like, oh, that's what it looks like. But
Hi, I'm Lavender. And I'm Lily. Prevention is a pathway to functional zero.
Well, that's all, folks. I want to thank you for joining us for an evening of awareness. We want to thank our youth voices, or our young people, for sharing their stories and reflections on prevention. Also, we want to thank our beloved community who have been a part of keeping us uplifted and our young people uplifted. We could not do this work and expand on our awareness without also recognizing our national partners who are also shining a light on National Runaway Prevention Month, which is the National Runaway Safe Line. So again, thank you all for joining us, and look forward to more homeless youth awareness events coming, especially November 10th. Don't forget to wear and go green.